GTX 770 essentially is a slightly tweaked GTX 680. But question is, how much slightly is slightly? Today in my hands I have Palit version of GTX 770 with 4GB of VRAM. And now, currently I don't have GTX 680 for comparison, but soon I will think of something. As I already mentioned, today I will be testing out one of the most powerful GTX 770. This card is slightly more factory overclocked than other ones, plus this variant is with upgraded cooling. That means with 3 fans and big radiator. For my surprise, this card have Samsung VRAM. What that means? That means that card have huge overclocking potential. But that's for another video. Shortly about specifications. Card is from 2013 with GK104 graphics processor, 1536 shading units, 4GB of GDDR5 memory, but there was 2GB versions as well for budget builders. Card have 256-bit bus width and 230W TDP. Oh, and because this card is so powerful and thermal pads on VRAM already started to decompose, I needed to change thermal pads too. But guys, write in the comments if you want to see full cleaning process of graphics cards. But now it's time for benchmarks, starting with Counter-Strike 2. In 1080p medium settings, Fidelity FX disabled and HDR set to quality. GTX averaged 141.2 FPS, minimum was 90 FPS, where maximum even get to 204 FPS. Nothing else to say, only that I now understand why back in the day GTX 770 was way to go for CSGO esports. Sure, you can crank all settings to high and still get 60 FPS in 1080p. I tried to run Forza Horizon 5, but still, no luck for me. I even tried to patch latest NVIDIA drivers, but still no luck. Forza just black screened on me every time. But I know that people still, till this day, are able to play Forza Horizon 5 on this GPU pretty well. If you want to see how I managed to patch latest NVIDIA drivers for all graphics cards, let me know. I'll be happy to help some of you guys who still uses these old beasts. But in Fortnite, I couldn't switch to DirectX 12. Game just restarted always in DirectX 11. So I stick with it. In 1080p, medium preset, average frame rate was 92.9 FPS, minimum was just 54.8 FPS, and maximum was 131.8 FPS. In populated areas and while dropping, card was switching between 54 to 70 FPS, but without any stutters or glitches. Good old battlegrounds, the true test for GPUs. In PUBG, I set settings to 1080p with DirectX 11 enhanced for 2 to 3 FPS improvement, but in low graphics preset. Average frame rate was 70.9 FPS, minimum was 45.1 FPS, and maximum card managed to get 113.1 frames per second. I notice that sometimes when more people is getting around you, there will be slight FPS drop. But of course, you can use it as advantage. Am I right? In Apex Legends, 1080p, texture streaming set to medium for better textures and to use those 4GB of VRAM. Playing Apex Legends, cards run so smoothly that I didn't even notice that I have any performance disadvantage from others. So, Apex average did 90.3 FPS, minimum of just 51.5 FPS, and maximum was 127.5 frames per second. As I already said, you can really enjoy this game with this card, but maybe not in hot summer days, because card needs power and power is heat, you know the drill. As I mentioned previously, this card was one of the favorite choices for overclockers, and same time with people in esports titles, and Rainbow Six wasn't exception from CSGO. Even nowadays, you can play Rainbow Six with competitive FPS if you have this card. I run Rainbow Six Siege in 1080p high graphics preset and anti-aliasing set to FXAA. 770 averaged 102.7 frames per second. Minimum was 84.7 FPS and maximum was 143 frames per second. Now, this game is esports title, same as previous games, and that game is Rocket League. If you like this game, then you are in luck, because in 1080p, high quality settings and anti-aliasing cranked way up to FXAA high, card's average frame rate was 187.8 FPS, minimum was still as high as 136.6 FPS, and maximum was 278.4 FPS. Of course, here and there I managed to get some FPS drops, but that was after a long 8-hour testing session. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Oh, I waited so long, till I get some card in my hands who can get this game enjoyable. And here it is, 1080p medium preset. Motion blur and bloom turned off, obviously, and texture filtering set to trilinear. Average frame rate was 51.6 FPS, minimum was 39.8 FPS, and maximum was 73.7 FPS. But you can get even higher frame rate if you go lower in graphics. But at least, for me, this was very smooth experience from Old Beast. Oh, and I managed to run this game at DirectX 12 mode. What would be a review without having benchmark? And here I set quality to ultra, of course in 1080p, but I think that this card can go even to 1440p. But for now, 1080p is good for me and my tests. But anti-aliasing turned off. Average frame rate was 71.7 FPS, where minimum was 27.7 FPS and maximum was 153.8 FPS. Now with everybody's favorite Minecraft. In Minecraft I set resolution to 1080p and highest possible settings and 12 chunks of rendering distance. And Minecraft's average frame rate was 359.1 FPS, minimum was 187.1 FPS, and the maximum card was getting 520.3 frames per second. I can guarantee that this card will run Minecraft even with hardest texture packs that are available. As much as I like to play and test more games with this card, video needs to go to end. Because most of you guys manage to watch my videos only for 2 minutes. But in future, I like to push this card even further with its Samsung memory chips. If you like to see that too, write in the comments. But for now, like, subscribe, and see you soon in the next video.